John doesn't subscribe.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the final building episode of Island Park. Paradise Dinosaur Park thing, I need a better title. But yeah, basically we're going to be building most of a half of a park in this episode. I know it's been a month since the last episode, that's because I've been busy with other videos and just other stuff I'm doing. And this is going to be a marathon episode. This was supposed to be originally 3 episodes. But the first thing I'm doing is building the swamp area, which I ended up really liking. Starting with this circular enclosure that was going to be a Deinonychirus enclosure, but ends up being Spinoraptor because I wanted to use at least one of our new hybrids. Well, it was new when I was building this section of the park. I do jump around a lot during this episode, so I'm sorry about that. And I am missing a lot of footage. You can watch the tour though when it comes out and see the entire park in its completion. But yeah, essentially, we're working on the swamp section, which goes right next to the jungle, like it's the runoff from the jungle or something, I don't know. Here I'm making the ramp that's going to go up to our biodome. The first thing I'm doing is I'm just placing down these multi-walls. I planned for these to be temporary, just to make sure I could extend the terrain at a nice sharp 90-degree angle. Ramps are pretty hard to do and keep even. So that's something I recommend doing, is just having it like that with the walls and doing it in little sections. You saw where I was breaking it down into 2 contour lines at a time. I'm gonna move some stuff around here later, but first thing I like to do when I'm doing a swamp or something is lay down the water first and then erase the water, which looks a lot better. I do end up actually deleting that river there. I replace that section with that type of fence because where the water runs through, I like to make it look more, that looks like it makes more sense than the water running through the concrete. And also, I think it looks really ugly whenever the fences move with terrain. It just looks weirdly stretched to me. Some people it doesn't bother. To me, it does. So yeah, especially with the concrete fence. There we're using a log viewing gallery. And I'm connecting that to where the separate section is going to be over here. Something interesting that happened while building this park is that I realized there's actually no way for the staff to maintenance the island or the enclosures. That was due to the lack of space. I couldn't build good infrastructure for that. And there was originally a plan to build a dock here, which I didn't end up doing because of space, and it was already crashing my Xbox at this point. This is actually the first park that I will have completed on with all building sets, because I only got the next-gen console last summer, and every park I've worked on since then, which is only 2 because I took some breaks and haven't been building as much. They've crashed before I could finish them, which is why this is a little small park. What I'm doing here is building a under construction area. So that's something I always like to do. On an island, it actually does make sense to have a completed park, but you know, the zoo is never done being built. There's always something new that they're putting in. This park is not meant to be open, mostly because the guests would make the park crash. But basically, yeah, this area over there, not right there, this is the queue to get into the tour that we built 2 episodes ago now, I guess. Essentially, that's just where there was going to be a Monolophosaurus exhibit, but that's still under construction, and there's some other stuff in this park that shows that it's not quite ready to open. So, my plan for the infrastructure, which this doesn't actually work. The great thing about this is that we can use our imagination when we want, and we can abide by realism whenever we want, because we're the ones who are building the park. So, what I decided is the underground tunnel the guests have access to. Since this is a volcanic island, you often see those in chains, and there's not actually a volcano on the island, it's an underwater volcano, which creates that uplift. Essentially, there could be a second island, that's the staff island, and that's also where the airport is, and you just take the underground tunnel to that building to arrive here. Really, there's no way for this park to be properly maintained as it's built, but, you know, it's fine. It doesn't really matter that much. It looks cool in the end. I understand there's much better park builders out there than me, especially since I've built so little with all buildings. It's like, this is what made me realize that if I ever switch to PC, I will probably not use mods, despite how good they are. I had to have too many ideas of what to build that I'd never get anything done. Here, I had a lot of space in this section that I really didn't know what to do with, and don't worry, I'll delete this ugly path later. But something good to do whenever you're stuck is to lay down a circle and make it look nice with path design. If it's decorative water, do a garden, fountain, whatever. And that works as like a little roundabout connection. I was really struggling with frame right here, and I had no idea why, and then I went into the delete tool, and yeah, you can see there's a lot of placeable items in this park. No idea why this would be causing any sort of frame rate drops. It's really ridiculous. That was a little bit sarcastic, in case you couldn't tell or if my narration was unclear. Anyway, yeah, you can tell I really had no idea what to do here. Something that best builders usually do is to lay down path first and big buildings, and then what new builders often do, I talked about this a couple episodes ago, is to lay down fence and then build around it. What I end up often doing is laying down buildings and then fences and then doing path around it, which makes it look really ugly from above and leaves you with lots of weird spaces that you can't really fill very well, or if you do fill them, it ends up just becoming repetitive. So, yeah, that was something kind of annoying. There was a cut in the footage where, so I recorded for 8 hours for this episode. I got 5 hours of actual recording, and only 3.5 hours made it through the OneDrive transfer. So there are some cuts. You can see the whole park in the tour. I'm not just trying to get you to watch the tour. It's not like I make money off of this or anything. Sorry about that, though. So I'm trying to fill this entrance. Something I always do with the monorails is like this breaking from the illusion. Something I've talked about a lot in this park is, you know, I wanted this park to have a consistent theme of an island paradise, but consistent themes are so hard to do when it takes us 3 months to build parks now. It gets boring, and then you forget how to build in other biomes, even by the time you get back, because, you know, we have, like, what, 7 biomes? Even if you do every other park, that's going to take you, like, 2 years to build a park in each biome. There's some more prolific builders that play, like, 5 hours a week. But for most of us, it takes 3 months to finish a park, so you gotta mix it up somehow. So what I did was I started with the island paradise theme, and as you go through, it gets darker, there's cracks in the illusion, you see that the park's imperfect. I didn't go over the top with the theming or anything. Just my excuse for changing the theming. I forgot to say what I was gonna even say, which is the monorail tracks are really nice for making a framing for an entrance to surround them with thick trees, and then you go through and it's totally different on the other side. Which is just always fun to do. For those of you who haven't seen the other episode, the story behind this park is an alternate universe of the Jurassic timeline where Dodson didn't become the CEO. The company was partially bought out by Maserati, and they became one company, a co-company, and they are working together to create these dinosaur parks around the world, which is why my explanation for why we have all these different building types. Here I'm just placing my hatcheries. I didn't have room for anywhere to put them on the island anymore. As far as my plans for Evolution 2 from now on, I do want to start focusing on other games more, like Prehistoric Kingdom, because those are just as fun, even though I'm not as good at them. But I do have one more park build, at least, that I'm doing a series for this year. Don't know when that will be. Yeah, anyway, some of this section I left kind of blank, partially for an excuse to not have to place more items because the frame rate was already dropping, but also because, as I said, this is under construction, so this is the most recently completed area of the park. I don't know why there's guests walking around. The park is closed at this point. You'll see that little habitat I put there next to the Biodome building. That's a Dimetrodon habitat. I just wanted to fill in the space there, and Dimetrodon fit great because it's a little habitat, so you have to put a little creature, but even for the little creatures, a lot of them are fast, so they still feel cramped in those habitats. So that's why I decided to put Dimetrodon, because he's kind of slow. And you know, the reptiles at the zoo, they have way smaller exhibits than similarly sized mammals and birds and such. Because, you know, they're slower animals. It takes them longer to explore their exhibit, I guess, or they just have less space requirement. Anyways, so yeah, this path color actually looks really ugly now. The Jurassic World paths just don't fit, especially in this swamp. They're too, like, overexposed, I guess, is the right word. I didn't really know what to fill in with the space. But this is going to be our Spinoraptor habitat, as I've already said. There I put the Spinosaurus and the Velociraptor banner. It was annoying because they're not the same size. I did not know what to do to fill this space. Something I recommend is just creating some sort of display with the decoration. It doesn't have to be anything actually good or fancy. So what I did, I just placed one of these walls, put some parasols, and yeah, just some trash cans and flags and whatever to fill the space. Still, I don't particularly like this little section. Here, we're going to start working on the Spinoraptor habitat, unless I jump to somewhere else in the park suddenly. I think my Rockwork has definitely improved over the course of this build. I have started actually watching other people play who are really good, and I notice how they use the rocks that I wasn't doing before. And it really just fills up the space, although it also fills up my hard drive. So, yeah, there's still some limitations that come from playing on console, which is a little bit of what not what makes my channel unique, which I feel like something I've talked about before is that I used to play with one building era, which was, most people on YouTube don't do that. Most people who have YouTube channels are playing with all building eras, so that's what made mine kind of unique. But now I was like, okay, what does make my building unique? I'm not the best builder. I'm not doing something not entirely unique. Of course, there's other builders that work like that, but, you know, kind of on its own, something different. I'm still playing on console, but that's one reason I want to move to Prehistoric Kingdom, because I can use my original ideas better. Even though I have ideas for this game, they're still super limited, and yeah, Prehistoric Kingdom is just a better game. I still really love this game, so I will keep playing it. Maybe not as much on the channel. But yeah, this Spinoraptor habitat, I think did a good job of setting a different feel for it that really defined the whole area. And the circular habitat looks really nice from above. It really breaks up the very blocky structure I already had for the park, which is something I struggle with, is making my parks look too almost industrial, which is why I tried to leave some grass just everywhere between paths where I could. This is where I was deciding what species to put in that little exhibit. No, it's not. This is where I was trying to find Spinoraptor, because we have like, what is it, 122 species now? And it's kind of hard to find them in the hatchery without the filters. So yeah, I wanted to put a couple different skins in there. We have 5 Spinoraptors, same as the Allosaurus that we'll have in a little bit. Something interesting, we don't actually have any large carnivores in this park, according to what the game classifies as a large carnivore. I would argue the Allosaurus in this game is a large carnivore, because it's the size of a saurophact, so it's basically gigantic. Here, yeah, I'm working on that under construction habitat. Something I like to do to drive this home is to put piles of this terrain paint, sand and dirt, and I like to put rows of rocks, something I didn't actually do here, to make it look like they're fake rocks that they're going to put into the habitats. There we go, that just keeps the guests from walking in, hypothetically, if they could do that. We got our water towers like it's supposed to fill up that river or something. I tried to keep the volcanic theme a little more, but I kind of didn't. The park looks really nice from above, that kind of two-fold split that you can clearly see running down the islands, and then with the beach at the end that we're going to build. Again, just filling this up with some facility decorations. I tried to keep it relatively sparse, as I said. It doesn't look that bad when it's sped up, but the frame rate is really slow. Just building on console is a lot slower. Here I'm putting some cell towers around the island so our guests can have Wi-Fi. But basically, building on console is a lot slower because the everything just moves slower unless you turn up the sensitivity, and then it takes forever to get anything precise. Here you can see our Spinoraptors. I'll show you a more extended look in the tour. Maybe this week. If not, it'll be next week. Spinoraptor looks so good. Overall, I think hybrids aren't good to have more of in the franchise. I don't want to over-talk about my opinion on hybrids because this is a building episode, but basically, hybrids, most of the time, but the Spinoraptor design is super good. I really like it. The Dimetrodon are honestly kind of hard to see because the grass is so tall. Their sails just kind of stick up above it. But you know, the view would be better as a human because you can focus on things in the distance or closer to you. Here, what I started doing, I think I'm actually going to abandon it and come back. But basically, this is the helicopter tour. We did the fractal path design. I was like, there's no way for the guest to actually see this because I was talking about my parks are focused for the first-person view mostly, less than the above view. So this is what I tried to do. I wanted to make a nice structure instead of just placing down the DFW arrival points I put these to have that kind of more unique architecture. And yeah, as if you don't know, you can slightly clip the viewing galleries into each other by making them face each other. This way, the guest will just have a way to see that path design in the Challengersaurus habitat. Does it make sense for that to be there? No, not at all. That would have been so expensive for them to build, and the Challengersaurus would honestly probably damage it after being in there for that long, and there'd be no way for the maintenance, the lights and everything. But as I said, we're in charge of the realism and the rules of the universe that our dinosaur park takes place in. Because, yeah, there's no one to hold us to reality. It's still our dinosaur park building game. We can do whatever we want. It's kind of the point. Here, I'm building this little section with the path. I'm actually going to delete this, I think, because I have to move the biodome a little bit. You can see my lagoons here. I wanted to do the lagoon glitch trick with the underwater cave. I was originally going to have 2 lagoons, one for Ichthyosaurus, one for Dunk. But then, during the course of this park build, that glitch was discovered. And I'm doing that here just to create this cave effect that I'm going to put the lagoon viewing domes underneath later. I was considering doing the lagoon viewing galleries since I never placed them anymore. To be fair, it's like once every 3 months that I build a lagoon because I usually only do 1 or 2 per park. I feel like the lagoons should be a special thing as opposed to the aviaries. For some reason, it doesn't feel like that to me. I feel like you can place a bunch of aviaries and it's fine. Lagoons are a little different. So yeah, just filling this in with rocks. And at first I thought this doesn't look very good because it stands out, it looks fake. But I think I did a decent job of blending it in the end, even though I used the gray rocks, which go against the brown rocks that we've used for the entire rest of the park. If you don't know how to do this glitch, go watch Evo's video on it. And plenty of other people have made tutorials. But yeah, here we go. I had to delete a couple rocks that were in the hitbox. Basically, every glitch that's been found recently by the community has been from basically just using the terrain and then placing items on it and lowering the terrain to create overlap, but you can overlap most types of items at this point. The only hitbox, well, there's others, but the main hitbox that's pretty much been undefeatable is the aviary hitbox. Trying to figure out if there is a way to get guests or anything inside the aviary that's not intended to be there. I'm just outlining this in the contrasting terrain brush, so I'll remember where the lagoon edge is. Now we heighten the terrain. I'm placing this rock to be a test to make sure I can go that far down with the hitbox. And I fill this in with rocks, and it creates a nice underwater cave that looks super cool. I did end up putting Dunk in here. I actually couldn't decide for a while. Well, I'll get to that in just a minute. Yeah, the trees don't actually look like anything from below water, but they help blend it with the island from above. I think this park is my best park I've ever built, despite being a smaller park and not having, we don't have a Brachiosaurus and we don't have any large carnivores. We don't have Triceratops, but I think it's a pretty good park, considering, especially that it's my first all buildings park that I've actually completed. I spent like 28 hours on this park. I had another park that was a work in progress that I had 35 hours in before it crashed. It was on the Germany map. I think that park was super good, but unfortunately I can't even open it because it crashed instantly. Which is super annoying. If they ever make Evolution 3, I'm definitely gonna play that on my PC that I have now. But I don't want to buy the whole game again. So anyway, aside from the watercolor being different, I tried to blend the lagoon with the natural edge. Here, I couldn't decide if the amphitheater should be part of the habitat or part of the guest section. I feel like we always do the guest section, but the habitat is too basic. You'll see what I end up doing in the end. It's something I actually haven't done before with the amphitheater. The amphitheater is such a helpful building, though. So yeah, here I'm placing the viewing domes, which thankfully you can still place underneath the rocks. and it's a very convenient height to not run into them. Here we go, we're picking out our lagoon species. I really couldn't decide because I was, Lioplorodon would look so good in the underwater cave because it's slower. Dunk would seem so cramped in this little not aviary, lagoon. But in the end I did go with Dunk because I don't even think I've ever put Dunk in a park, for a full sandbox park. Because, you know, that pack came out in August. I worked on a crashed park from August to December. Here you can see the release animation real quick. But wow, the dunks look so good. And yeah, just those three. More than that, and it would feel super cramped. My tip for the lagoons is to put fish feeders in the lagoons, because they fill up. They put hundreds of fish in there if you just put a few, and it helps make the lagoons feel less empty, less barren, like I just did there. And they don't actually have hardly any hitbox, so they didn't delete any of the water next to it. Here I'm putting this so the lagoon looks like it's part of this concrete wall to make it look like the lagoon's more part of the natural bay that's just been walled in on the other side. That way you don't see the lagoon edge from all sides, which is just something helpful to do there. Because logically, you can't really put a lagoon in the middle of the island and have it not be natural, because there's no way to move that much water if it's not already there. But as I said, this is our park, so we can abide by whatever laws of physics we want. So if you do that, that's fine. That's just my headcanon. Here I'm decorating this area at the top of the biodome. Unfortunately, I lost pretty much all the footage of actually building the interior. But basically, the idea is Biosyn, they wanted to create 100% natural dinosaurs, not altered to be able to survive in today's climate. So with like true paleo accuracy, so scientists could do research, and they put them inside this alpine aviary, which has a different biodome and the same conditions that dinosaurs would have lived in, temperature and oxygen wise, which is why it's this insulated biodome where I'm going to have Barbarodactylus, my favorite pterosaur in the game, except maybe 2001 Pteranodon, I can't decide. And also I put Torosaurus, my favorite, or maybe second favorite, ceratopsian in the game. And I ended up also putting Dracorex in there just because I wanted a small carnivore that fit the environment, just to fill up the space. Not carnivore, herbivore. Only 22 minutes in and I'm already misspeaking. I was thinking about during this episode, how does Masrani's copyright work? Because obviously scientists would want to study the dinosaurs once Jurassic World gets built. And we know, they had the rights to the dinosaurs because InGen still owned them once the Gene Guard Act was discontinued, at least. I don't know the extent of their ownership before that. I don't think it's been said. While the Gene Guard Act was in place, did they still own the species? I guess they did because the company still existed, even though it was almost bankrupt for several years until Masrani bought it. But I guess, yeah, the only reason you would have bought them is if they had the rights to the dinosaurs, so they must have still. But here's the thing. Scientists can't come to Jurassic World to study the dinosaurs, and Masrani, there's no way they would be able to keep those species without the government taking the machines or buying them out. Because if it's something that valuable, somebody's going to buy them out to just use their technology so they can research the dinosaurs. There's no way they kept exclusive rights for 10 years to something that important, and I don't think they would, especially Masrani. I think he'd definitely want scientists to be able to study the animals. So why weren't there dinosaurs other places in the world? You can see that dramatic shift in the coloration there. That's because I lowered the brightness in the game, and I think it would make... Yeah. I'm misspeaking again, sorry. Just makes it look a lot better. There you can see I was going to fill that whole thing with those planters, but that was going to take way too long and way too many frames, so I ended up just doing this, mostly filling this area with the garden. These two viewing galleries let you look into the Chondrosaurus habitat, which you'll also be able to look into from the helicopter tour, and also one of our remote viewing galleries that's connected by the Hyperloop across the island. But I wanted to use viewing platform somewhere because I think these buildings just look so nice, and I wanted to use a very variable of attractions. the nice thing about having multiple attractions is that, you know, if you go to any theme park, it's not like you have this, or any zoo, every exhibit is different because they can build whatever they want, so there's be no reason for them to repeat the exact same building, which is something that, the reason I think we need more attractions. I think we have a fair bit now, but this is a small park, and I still had to repeat one or two. I used most of the types of attractions we had in this game. And I had to repeat some of them. River Tour, please. Frontier. It's not that hard. We've been asking for 5 years. More like 6 years now. Anyways, yeah, as I build, I want to talk about the LQA update to Evolution 2 that usually comes 30 days before if it's a species pack, and 60 days before if it's an expansion. I think this is an expansion. I think if we get an expansion, it'll probably be the September one, or even the December one. But the I think what they're doing is they're going to do a double species pack to make up for the lack of free updating, because they knew that not everyone would want the hybrids, because, you know, there's been a lot of uproar about that. In my opinion, partially unjustified, but, you know, they knew not everybody would be happy with that, but they had to get it in the game because it was in the first game, and a lot of people wanted it, and the game needs to feel complete, and I don't think the game is complete without them. But they wanted to give those other people an option so they didn't feel like they weren't getting anything for 3 months straight. And so they're going to do probably a double species pack as my guess. Hopefully towards the end of this month, maybe start of May, we'll get hopefully the pterosaur pack. Maybe they'll just go ahead and do the herbivore pack, or they'll spring something totally new on us. Every time we try to guess, they've been trying to switch it up because they were too predictable the first year, I guess. Which is nice, but also I really hope they still do the pterosaur and herbivore pack. I'm not sure the herbivore pack would sell well enough for them. You know, people really like carnivores. I can see them not doing that, or if they did that as a final. I really hope they do an expansion as the final update, though. I don't know what expansion they could do. I mean, there's a lot of things they could do, but I've been thinking about what's going to actually do well for them economically. Not a lot. Hopefully, they're going to actually just... Actually, I'm starting to lean towards, I hope they just do a couple more species pack, and then they make Evolution 3. I've not been historically a supporter of Evolution 3. I've thought that that's not something they should do. Or if they do it, it'll be in a long time. But with these new movies, it's possible they're already working on it and planning to release it literally next year. But also they're probably doing Planet Coaster 2 next year, so maybe they'll wait till 2027, 2028 and release it alongside the second film in this new supposedly trilogy. Maybe it's not a trilogy, maybe it's a standalone film. We still don't know that kind of stuff. So yeah, you can see this area. What I'm doing here with the amphitheater that I told you about earlier is I'm actually splitting it in two. Since I couldn't decide to be a guest section or habitat, I thought, hey, what if half of it's a habitat and half of it's a guest section, so you can look into the habitat from the amphitheater seats or from the ground right through the fence. And this way the dinosaurs still have access to it, and I can turn it at this unique angle that still gives me space to actually have a view of the habitat, because I wasn't going to have space to build something unique there. I did just alternating fence, which looks super nice always. So yeah, you can see how this works, pretty much. The unfortunate thing about the design of this park is that if you reach the end at the beach there, you have to walk all the way back to get to your hotel or anywhere else. I suppose you could take the Hyperloop, but the nearest entrance is already like halfway back. The transport's a little bit inconvenient. But hey, then the guests have to walk past the gift shops twice. So there, I'm just foresting that in a little bit to continue this theme of this being the more jungly area of the island. Also the more recently constructed, so it's less cleared. I guess that hasn't been properly transformed yet, because as I said, the park's not open yet. So yeah, just filling this in. Really wanted to drive home the tropical theme here, so then that the biodome feels different enough. It still doesn't, I think. I think it's a well-designed exhibit, but you'll see what I mean in the tour. The grass, I think, mostly, and the ground plants still feel kind of tropically, especially with the mountains in the background. I mean, the ocean in the background stretching on into the distance. I also put a viewing dome in here, even though we already used a viewing dome earlier. I felt like these just aviary viewing galleries weren't enough because you get kind of a limited view. I wanted you'd be able to see it from another angle. I really didn't want to fill this path. I know, like, we always talk about you don't just fill stuff with one path color, you know, just path, but even just unbroken path design, even with decorations and planters, still feels really impractical to me. I really don't like even small plazas like this. It's either gotta be, it has to have something to break it up. So, yeah, maybe that doesn't look as good from above, but it's whatever. It's my park. I can build it however I want. And you guys can watch it if you want. So yeah, the next park, you know what? You've watched 31 minutes of me talking. I'll go ahead and tell you what my next park is going to be. It's going to be on Southwest USA. I think there's a square map for that. If not, we'll just do the expanded version so we don't have the annoying terrain there. And it's going to be like a modern architecture kind of city. So in the future, it's going to be like actually try to drive home this futuristic theme of this is a city of the future. Kind of like an Arizona modern theme. For those of you who have played the mini golf game in VR. Very obscure reference there. Basically, we're going to use a lot of, like, the monorails, the uneven monorails, the actual monorails, the Jurassic World architecture a lot. Make this park really clean and polished. It's going to feel kind of emptier. This is also going to be a smaller park. But basically, where dinosaurs exist, and they're a thing that people just have in this city, which is kind of like a Las Vegas type city, where that's their thing. Instead of having casinos, they have dinosaurs. And in this world, I guess dinosaurs would exist other places too. But maybe this is the only place where it's legal to have dinosaurs. Kind of like casinos. I mean, there's other places you can build casinos, but mostly they're just in Vegas, because that's where they're known for, and yeah. I really like this section this little garden that I did here in front. You can see I put the When Dinosaurs Ruled the Earth banner because that's going to lead into the last section of the park. Oh, also something about this next park I'm going to build. Every dinosaur species, I'm going to make a poll between 2 or 3, and you guys are going to vote every species, each episode, what's going to be in the park. So it's not up to me, that way you guys are kind of part of the build process. I'm not going to put bad dinosaurs on the polls though, so I'm still going to put things that I want to put in the park, because, you know, why would I not? Here, I'm just building some fire hazards. That's not even a fire hazard, that's just a fire. It's not even kind of a fire hazard. I literally just placed a tree on a torch. There's no way this park is safe at all. Also, there's no ranger teams or helicopters or ACU on the islands, but that's fine. Here, I had a hard time with this fence at first. What I tried to do is to do this 6x6 90-degree angle to create this curve that still looks unnatural, which is something kind of fun because, you know, it's supposed to look like it's a more natural fence, but obviously it just doesn't look right because it's so geometric, which is just fun. As I said, I didn't actually do too much with the theming here, but I had to do something, and when it's that convenient, might as well. I just realized those last 2 clips were out of order. Sorry about that. This was a lot of footage to sort through, as I said. I had like 30 10-minute clips. That took me 3 weeks to transfer from the Xbox. Well, I guess 2 weeks, because I built this over the course of 2 weeks. You know, how do you guys build parks? Most of you. Because it takes me like 3 months. I play for maybe 2.5 hours a week, so that's like 10 hours a month. And then each park takes me like 30 hours, and some people spend way longer than that on parks. So how do you guys build so fast? And I also play other video games too, and actually have stuff to do, so I don't know. time is but a construct of the mind. I wanted to do a river through there, but there wasn't space to actually properly execute that idea. I do really like doing bridges in my parks. I want to do that in the modern park, do some nice water features, which you kind of have to plan water features before, I feel like, because it takes a lot of space because the water brush has hitbox worse than the aviary. So yeah, I was just covering this area with trees so that you can't see the entrance to the amphitheater there. Here, yeah, I'm jumping around, seeing what areas are empty. Connecting this, as I said, this is another spot where you have pillars and thick trees around it to denote that you're entering the last area of the park and it's different from the rest. You're exiting the dark jungle and you're back in the paradise, but not exactly. It's still different. You've been altered by the journey to here. Super cool ideas. Looking back on it, I should have put a Hyperloop connection here so guests can walk back, but you know what? We can pretend that they can do that. Nobody steal my idea for the next park, actually. No, I'm kidding. You can build wherever you want. So yeah, there's some really cool stuff going on in the community right now. I'm building this little bay area that you can look out into the vast ocean. Like, if you guys seen Legion's start of that series where he's collaborating with the other builders, I'm assuming through Nexus, they're going to share the save file in every episode. Connect it with lots of the best PC park builders. You have Caesar Creates on there, Crazy Cat Mary, Legion, of course. Pythonics is on there. Yeah, it's going to be super cool, absolutely legendary park build. Here, I had some space, and I was gonna fill this in with shops and stuff, but I decided to put our friend the Chunky Monkeysaurus, Chunkingosaurus, because if you remember, episode 3, I think it was, I did that poll of, they got like 65 votes, because Jurassic Swine shared it, and everybody wanted to vote on that, and so many people were so particular about which Asian stegosaur they preferred that look very similar. But yeah, anyway, I decided, you know, we get one final send-off for this series. What's going to be our dinosaur? Technically, Allosaurus are the last species I put in, but I decided on putting the Chunkingosaurus in here. Which, yeah, for those of you who voted that, he got his redemption arc. Alright, only 5 minutes left in the video. If you're still here, you're a trooper for sitting through my narration for that long, and thank you for everyone who's stuck with this series for over 2 months. Let's see, I started the series, was it January or February? I'm gonna check actually real quick. Yeah, it looks like, okay, episode 1 was 2 months ago, January 17th, and it's April 6th, is it? 7th? So yeah, it's, thank you for everyone who stuck around with this series that long. I know a lot of people were waiting for this episode. I don't have much more to say, but I also don't want to have you guys sit here in silence. Here I'm going to use my concrete barrier. You can see what I mean. I use these trees to integrate the lagoon as if it's a natural part of the island, but also still it's constructed. Yeah, this beach/desert area looks super cool and unique from above because it sort of, that peninsula juts out of the island. It looks super cool. Makes the islands not just look like a blob of land. I guess the geology is not actually all that accurate since I use it's supposed to be a volcanic island and it kind of looks like it in some areas, but I really didn't carry that through well. Well, I'm really just saying nothing now. Words are coming out of my mouth, but they don't really seem to make sense. Here, I'm putting, I at first put that fountain, but I put it earlier in the same section. So I don't know if the video is still here, but I switched that to the dueling Spinosaurus skeletons, which looks super good. The view actually isn't great here. I didn't set that up well, but that's just something so fun to do, is to have the Spinosaurus skeletons face each other in a circle. It just looks like they're fighting. It's awesome. Yeah, just filling in the Tronjosaurus, because you saw I tried to lower this earlier where I had this terrain raised up. I really just raised that terrain when I was doing the fractal design so that I'd not use up too much space, but I did anyway. Thank you, everyone, for watching this. As I've already said, I'm out of the narration that I'd planned, and there's still a little bit of the video left, like a minute and a half. But probably nobody's still watching here. If you are, comment the timestamp, because that'd be kind of funny. Yeah, here you can see the park from above. As I said, the tour will be either Sunday or next week.